Ladies, gentlemen, and others, nearly 200 years ago, 29-year-old author Emily Bronte released her one and only novel, Wuthering Heights. This book right here was quite divisive in its time period, and nowadays it is a literary classic. It has changed the landscape of literature for the better. Now, I don't know if you can hear around me, but a little birdie told me that a week ago, a musical interpretation of the book dropped, and a film adaptation of the book dropped as well. And I happen to have listened to the album and watched the movie, and today I'm going to tell you all about both and tell you which one I think is the better project based off what I know about this modern day classic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. All right, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so we're going to do a quick synopsis of Wuthering Heights. We got Catherine, protagonist, main gal right here. Then we got Heathcliff, right? Love interest. Protagonist, antagonist. This guy's complex, you know? Anyways, right? Catherine, Heathcliff, they grow up together. La-di-da-di-da. And then, basically, over this time, they begin, there's some passion, there's something in between them that they can't quite explain, but they don't talk about. It's not talked about. Anyways, as they grow up, Catherine then's like, hey, I'm gonna go get married to a rich man. And Heathcliff then leaves, right? Bye. For the next 3 years, Catherine is starting to be eaten away alive inside, tormented. She undergoes this sort of psychosis because of her desire, her passion, her love, whatever it is, for Heathcliff, who's now gone. 3 years later, Heathcliff returns, and now Catherine and Heathcliff and her current husband, Edgar, are all in this menagerie of a lot of stuff that starts going down, and stuff gets real quick. Now, that's a brief synopsis. Anyways, let's get into it. So, nearly 5 months ago, I woke up one morning, checked my phone, went to Instagram, as one does when they wake up first thing in the morning, and at the top of my feed, it said Charli XCX, and then there was a reel underneath it. That reel was a movie trailer for a movie directed by Fennell, and it had this gorgeous orchestral version of Everything is Romantic, which is one of the best songs ever made in the history of songs being made. And then at the very end of this trailer, it said, Original Songs by Charli XCX. At that moment, I was sat in the theater seats. I was there. The theater staff asked me to leave. I politely said no, then they had to drag me out. And then my roommate snuck in, and she did the same thing. It was epic. That being said, now we're in the present day, right? The album dropped, and to put it bluntly, the album's phenomenal. It is beautiful, and I think it captures everything that the movie wanted to capture, and kinda did. Maybe, catch my drift, but I don't know if it did. Now, with that all being said, we're just gonna briefly talk about the album, only talk about 5 of the songs because I don't want to yap for too long, because I already yapped so much. But first off, House, featuring John Cale. It was her lead single. It's the intro track to the movie, and it's the intro track to the entire album. Guys, this song made me shrivel into nothingness when I first heard it. It is so intense. It feels like pressure that is just building heavier and heavier until all of a sudden you're just suffocating in the walls of your own mind. It starts with these strings that build as John Cale gives you this monologue in poetry, talking about beauty and death and things being worth it, and then all of a sudden you reach this moment right here. Since the day that I heard that moment, it never left my head. It has haunted me ever since, and I think about it quite often, actually. This song just captures the feeling of suffocating. It captures the feeling of anxiety. It captures the feeling of just never being able to get out of your own head and being stuck there. I think that this song actually probably does the best job capturing the vibes of this book from what I understand of it. Now, next, we're going to talk about Wall of Sound. This song is the second song on the album, and it perfectly, I think, for me, encapsulates what Catherine and Heathcliff's relationship is like. It just has this way of pushing and pulling with the instrumentation that makes it just feel like magnets. It feels like no matter what Catherine does, she will be pushed towards him, and if she's not being pushed towards him, she will be pulled towards him, and she cannot escape him because they are inexplicably woven together, and it is genuinely devastating, but it's also beautiful.
Every time I try,
think those lyrics say it best. Every time I try talking myself backwards, away from my desire, something inside stops me. She can't escape him. And by the end of the song, she decides that she doesn't necessarily want to escape him. She just wants him to at least freaking acknowledge her or be with her or anyways, devastation. Next, Always Everywhere. This is a song that's performing best out of the songs that weren't dropped as singles before the album was released, and it's understandable why. The production on this song is so beautiful. It just feels like music that was produced in the realm where souls reside. I have no other way to put that. And I think it's because all the instrumentation and all the aesthetics being used here feel remnant of an echo. And with that being said, it reflects the song's lyrics incredibly well as well, because Heathcliff is haunting her. He is always everywhere in her mind, in the present. She sees him in everything and she can't escape him at all. His presence, his ghost, has been forcing her to live in her memories with him because she doesn't even want to face reality if it's not with Heathcliff, and that is devastating. I'm going to let that speak for itself. Now, the next song I'm going to talk about is Open Up. This song, she only repeats one lyric over and over again. It's just Open Up. And with that being said, this song does that for a reason. It is so much just like a prayer. She's genuinely just pleading with Heathcliff, with God, with nature, with whatever will listen to her, to bring him back and for him to be vulnerable with her. Please open up to me. That's all she's begging. Like, listen to this. That right there, ethereal. I'm just yearning for something I don't even understand when I listen to that song, and I want to keep yearning for it because it's so gosh darn beautiful. But at the same time, it low-key makes me want to anyways, next up, the last song we're gonna talk about, Altars. I like this song because I think it captures where Catherine was whenever Heathcliff had returned, what her mental state had reached. It was genuinely a complete succumbing to him and whatever that might mean. She didn't care what would happen as long as she was with him. She was willing to sacrifice her life. And in this song, you hear this percussion that goes on the entire backtrack, and it is just this consistent going, and it feels like a heartbeat. And I'm positive that that is because she wanted you to feel the vulnerability, because Catherine has her heart out and she's putting it on the sacrificial altar for Heathcliff, because it does not matter what happens to her as long as she is with her gosh darn man. That's all she wants. She wants him and she wants to be loved by him. She can die, but at least she'll be alive for a moment. Ugh. And yeah, with that being said, that's the album. Guys, go listen, you little punks. It's great. It's so good. It's so good. Anyways, the movie. Allow me to preface this segment by saying that I love Emerald Fennell's work. This necklace, it's from Saltburn. Saltburn was my movie of the year in 2023. When it came out on Prime Video, I watched that sucker 8 times in 3 months. It was a comfort movie. There was something about the way that it was shot that just captivated me. And it was also about this sexually confused little boy that was a freak. And, you know, perchance, maybe, I just loved it. I loved the plot. I loved the score. I still listen to that score by Anthony Willis. It's beautiful. With that all being said, Wuthering Heights is probably Emerald Fennell's most well-crafted movie to date. The cinematography, insane. There was multiple moments where you could catch me in the theater like Max from season 4 of Stranger Things. Oh, and if I only could, type beat. I was in love. The sweeping shots of the moors, so grandeur, so divisive, and also the way that fog was used in the moors, because it was like how Kathy felt. The world was so big, and yet she felt so trapped, like she could only see this far in front of her because she didn't have the person that made it all clear. And that was so intentional. And then we also had these cinematic scenes where it was incredibly intimate, and you felt like you were too close to everything that was happening, but you wanted to look away, and sometimes you did look away, but also sometimes you wanted to look away and you looked anyways because you wanted to look. And she was towing that line so well throughout the movie. The cinematography was great. The costume and set design, amazing. It was incredibly extravagant, and colors were used in such a beautiful way because she wanted you to see how the characters were feeling. She also wanted you to catch a vibe of how the environment was supposed to feel during that time. It was all incredibly intentional, and the extravagance of it all, while of course it wasn't necessarily to the time in a lot of ways, it didn't necessarily need to be, because this was Emerald Fennell's fantasy, what she was reading as she read Wuthering Heights, how she saw it. And it was, for her, a fanfic, and so she made it her little sexual fantasy. So it was extravagant. And the acting, great. Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, on-screen chemistry, brother. I'd watch those two kiss about 1,000,000 times. You heard me right. It was so good. I loved it. The supporting cast, also great. Everybody was doing their big one. Anthony Willis came back for the score. Charli XCX with a great soundtrack, ping-ponging back and forth with these beautiful, beautiful songs that captured the moment of every single part of this movie so well. Now, with all of that being said, I have this problem with this movie, right? The problem. You might ask, what is it? What is it? Right. It's called Wuthering Heights. What? Yeah, so apparently this book was like supposed to be an adaptation of the movie was supposed to be an adaptation of the book. Problem with that, no. So there are some parts of this movie that were entirely erased. I have not read the book, right? And I plan on doing it, which is why I bought it. I left the theater, and my biggest takeaway was that I have to read the book now. There was a skeleton, this phantom that was lurking over the entire project as I was watching, that captivated me. It was something that wasn't quite being touched on, but I could see its skeleton there, and it was never addressed, it was never fulfilled, and I'm pretty sure that skeleton is what this book was supposed to be. I can't explain it without spoiling too much, and so I won't, but just know that there is something there that is deeper than what Emerald Fennell captured. Now, two main problems with this movie. There's more, but I'm just going to talk about these two. Heathcliff was supposed to be a person of color, and from the moment that the movie started and we were introduced to Heathcliff's character, you could just feel how right that was to how this book is written and how important it was to this book. And it was erased because it was hot man Jacob Elordi. I get it. You need your heartthrob, okay? And I know you like Jacob Elordi. You had him in Saltburn. But no, you should have picked someone else. Jacob Elordi could have been the husband of Kathy. Could have been Edgar. But no. Instead, you erased a person of color that would have made the movie have another added level of complexity and layering that would have made it better. Dev Patel would have been a great pick because that man is so fine. He's a person of color, okay? So that's one. Second, so there's this character in the movie that becomes this submissive sexual little demon there in the end, and it's so funny because you just watch her character like revert to this because she's just so enthralled with this character that she's enthralled with, and it's funny. I genuinely was just laughing in the theater. Come to find out, that character in the book was physically abused, like severely, by the character that she now in the movie was just like this little submissive dog to, and that's a problem. This book is described as a romance often, but it's also like a psychological horror in a lot of ways. It is so intense, and one of those storylines was that person being abused by this character, and that was just erased because she wanted to make it someone that was just kinky. And I don't think that's okay. So I can put it into perspective, take the Hunger Games, right? The story that's about oppression, social inequality, class disparity, human nature, survival, all of these intense themes, and make it more about Katniss and Peeta's relationship. Add a couple like sex scenes where they are just like so enthralled with each other that they get like passionate during the games itself for like the viewers, and make that the focus. And then take all of the themes, you know, like this terrifying story about the world that we are now witnessing slowly becoming like this dystopian Hunger Games world, and put that in the background and make the romance the focus. That's what Wuthering Heights just did. And that's my problem. Shouldn't have been called Wuthering Heights. Should have been called like Pepper Freeze. Get it? Saltburn. Or maybe it should have just been called Emerald Fennell, untitled fanfic. And people would have gone to watch the movie. Margot, Robbie, Jacob, Elordi, hot guys. Get it? Okay? But they did not need to be called Wuthering Heights. That's my problem. This story is not the greatest love story of all time. This story is a psychological horror of passion and desire and how it can absolutely destroy a person until the end. Right, because I know some of you buggers, right, are going to want a finite rating. We're just going to drop them right here. We got the Wuthering Heights Charli XCX album gets a 9 from me. The movie gets a 6.9. And I think Emerald Fennell would be quite proud of that number, if you get what I'm saying. Anyways, now, thank you all so much for watching the 4th video on Tom to Bomb Talks. Make sure to like, comment, so that I know what to do in the next video, and then subscribe so you can keep seeing more epic videos like this one where I talked about Wuthering Freaks, Wuthering Heights. Yes. Anyways, thank you all so much, and until next time, bye.